Some disappearances feel like accidents. Others feel intentional. And this one feels like the sky swallowed an entire aircraft. June 23rd, 1950. A warm summer night over Lake Michigan. Northwest Orient Flight 2501 takes off from New York, heading toward Seattle with a scheduled stop in Minneapolis. On board, 55 passengers, 3 crew members, and a DC-4 aircraft trusted by pilots around the world. This flight should have been routine. But nothing about tonight will be routine. As the aircraft approaches the Lake Michigan region, a storm begins to form. The winds pick up, visibility drops. 3 aircraft in the same corridor decide to turn back. Flight 2501 does not. At 11:13 p.m., the pilot radios a request. Permission to descend from 3,500 feet to 2,500. The air is turbulent. Visibility is failing. Passengers can feel the shaking. But ATC denies the request. Another plane is already flying low. The controller responds, "Maintain altitude." This becomes the last message Flight 2501 is heard from. Minutes later, fishermen on a boat on Lake Michigan report something unexplainable. A loud explosion, a flash of red in the clouds, then silence. But when the Coast Guard arrives, there is no fire, no floating wreckage, only a thin layer of fuel on the surface. The largest inland search and recovery mission in U.S. history begins. Aircraft scan thousands of miles. Divers search the lakebed. Trawlers drag sonar grids across the bottom. But they don't find an airplane. They don't find bodies. They don't find anything that explains the explosion that witnesses saw. Investigators begin to panic. Planes don't just disappear in fresh water, one search commander said. And yet, this one did. The first clue appears 2 days later. Small fragments of fabric, seat cushion foam, tiny pieces of insulation. Not a wing, not an engine, just small pieces, too small for a structural failure. And then comes the disturbing part. A diver reports hearing something metal deep in the sediment, something large, something hollow. But the exact location is lost when the storm returns and the grid marks are erased. To this day, no one has found that spot again. But the mystery goes deeper. Lake Michigan researchers later discovered unusual magnetic anomalies in the exact region where the plane disappeared. Compasses drift. Sonar behaves erratically. Metal detectors fail. Theories spread. Was it the storm? A sudden microburst? Structural failure? None explain the lack of debris. None explain why the lake swallowed the aircraft whole. None explain why sonar has never picked up the fuselage, even with modern equipment. And then there's the strangest part. The U.S. government sealed portions of the flight investigation. Entire sections classified. Why? What information could possibly require secrecy for a domestic passenger flight? One archivist who reviewed the file decades later said, "There are pages missing, not redacted, missing." Some believe the aircraft broke apart mid-air and the pieces were scattered, but explosive breakup always leaves large floating debris. Some believe the plane spiraled into the water, but even then the engines would remain intact. And yet, nothing. For over 70 years, Flight 2501 has remained the deepest, darkest aviation mystery in American history. No aircraft, no passengers, no answers. Just a question that haunts every investigator who tried to solve it. How does a 48,000-pound aircraft vanish inside a lake? Some say the lake hides things. Some say nature played a cruel trick. Others believe something else was in the sky that night. But whatever the truth is, Flight 2501 became the disappearance that proved one terrifying reality. You don't need an ocean for an aircraft to disappear into nothing. If you want Episode 6, the disappearance that forced governments to rewrite aviation safety and still remains unexplained, just tell me